Welcome to the Dugout. I'm your host, Joseph Silva. On today's episode, it is the most wonderful and the most stressful time of year as playoff baseball starts, and this is your playoff baseball preview here. Full disclosure, we are recording this on Thursday because I'm going to be in Denver Saturday through Monday, so all the matchups I'm talking about are what I predict to be the matchups to be, so we don't know who the playoff picture is, even if we were to record this on the day it's being uploaded. The Braves-Mets doubleheader really throws a wrench into things. But spoiler alert, I don't have the Braves making it. Sorry, Anthony. But before we get started with this preview, go ahead.
No, they're going to make it, bro. We're dialed in.
Nah, I'm sorry. But before we get started with this preview, if you're enjoying the content, go ahead and leave a like. Subscribe to Playbook Sports. We got great playoff coverage here for the Major League Baseball. Football coverage is great as always. And with basketball preseason starting up, you know you got to watch the show. Now, we start with our first wild card series, which I have as the NL Central winning Brewers facing off against the final wild card, which I predict to be the Mets. Now, the metrics I look at when predicting the playoffs is innings pitched per start and home run rate. Why I look at those things is you need your starters to go deep in the game so your high leverage arms could just take over and shut it down. And home run rate, you're facing the best of the best. You're not facing a lot of weak pitchers unless you're playing the Dodgers, but we will get to that in a little bit. So you really can't string base hits together, unfortunately. It's very hard to do no matter what the baseball boomers in your life tell you. So really, you gotta hit home runs if you want to have to stand any chance. That's what Texas did in their miracle run last year. So that's the two metrics I'm looking at here. And the Brewers, the rotation they're going to be throwing out in the playoffs is ace Freddie Peralta, who's 11-8. Throwing 168 in the third innings for about 5 1/3 innings pitched per start. 3.69 ERA, good for a 1.13 ERA plus, 1.23 whip, 1.4 home runs per 9, 10.3 strikeouts per 9, and 3.5 walks per 9. He will be followed up by Tobias Myers, who's 8-6, 130 innings pitched. Again, 5 1/3 innings pitched per start, 137 ERA plus, 119 whip, 1.62 home runs per 9. 8.3 strikeouts per 9 and 2.5 walks per 9. And if it gets to a game 3, it is going to be Colin Ray with his 12-5 record, 185 innings pitched. Again, 5.13 innings pitched per start, 4.2 ERA. Good for us, just below average, 99 ERA plus, 1.23 whip, 1.6 home runs per 9, 7.2 strikeouts per 9, and 2.2 walks per 9. The bullpen is going to have to pick up a lot of the slack because the starters do not go deep, but they have a very good bullpen. We know this about Milwaukee. On the year, they have a 3.01 ERA, 9.48 strikeouts per 9, under 3 walks per 9, and 0.7 home runs per 9. The big arms in the bullpen are Devin Williams, who has a 1.45 ERA since coming back from the IL, good for a 2.93 ERA plus, whip under 1, half a home run per 9. 16.9 strikeouts per 9, 4.3 walks per 9. He is the closer, but Milwaukee has shown throughout this entire contention window they've had in the Yelich era is that they'll deploy their high leverage relievers whenever they can. In Game 7 against the Dodgers in 2018, Josh Hader, who was the best reliever in baseball that year, he went ahead and he pitched the 3rd through the 5th inning because that's when they needed him the most. So don't be surprised if you see Williams pitching in the 7th. Other arms include Trevor McGill, who's got a 2.91 ERA, and Jared Cohen, who's got a 2.44 ERA. Both very solid options in their own right. The bullpen is a strength for this Brewers team, and it should be what carries them if they go far. Offensively, they are averaging .03 home runs per at-bat. Not great, but they have a fantastic offense regardless. I'm not going to talk about this man too long. I talk about him enough already, but William Contreras is the star of the show. He's hitting .284 with 23 home runs, 92 RBIs, good for a 133 WRC+. He is backed up by the 2020 club boys themselves, Willie Adames and Jackson Chourio, each with 20 home runs and 20 stolen bases on the year. Adames is hitting .248 with 32 home runs, 109 RBIs, good for a 120 WRC+, and Chourio is hitting .272 with 21 home runs, 77 RBIs, 21 stolen bases, good for a 118 WRC+. But this lineup has a lot of pop in it, despite that weak home runs per 9, because Hoskins can get going at any time as well. Turang's a solid contact hitter. He's not Luis Arias, and again, contact is very hard to come by in the playoffs, but it should play well in October regardless. Their competition, the New York Mets, for me, are one of the most surprising teams of the year because this was supposed to be their rebuilding year, and they have flourished in a big way. The rotation they're throwing out for this is going to be Sean Manaea and his 11-5 record. He's thrown 171 innings on the year, good for 5.2 innings per start, a 3.69 ERA, good for a 1.04 ERA plus, a 1.23 WHIP, home runs per 9 under 1, 9.3 strikeouts per 9, and 3.5 walks per 9. He'll be backed up by Luis Severino, who is 11-6 with 178 innings pitched, again 5.2 innings per start, 3.26 ERA for another 1.04 ERA plus, 1.23 WHIP. I swear to God, I'm not repeating numbers here. 1.1 home runs per 9, 7.9 strikeouts per 9, and 3 walks per 9. And if it gets to a game 3, it is most likely going to be Jose Quintana, who is 10-9, 158 innings pitched, good for 5.1 innings pitched per start, 3.74 ERA, a 1.06 ERA plus. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves, boys. A 1.24 WHIP, 1.2 home runs per 9, 6.8 strikeouts per 9, and 3.3 walks per 9. Now, the rotation is not great. They're giving up too many hits, too many walks. Home run rate is not fantastic by any means. Bullpen, not that much better, as they have a 3.81 ERA on the year, 10.82 strikeouts per 9, 3.96 walks per 9, just under a home run per 9, which is the worst of any of the teams we're going to talk about here today. And the key arms, Edwin Diaz has just been rough by his standards this year, not what you want from your closer. He's got a 1.45 ERA, but it's only a 1.11 ERA plus because Citi Field is a very pitcher-friendly park. 1.01 WHIP, 1.3 home runs per 9, 13.8 strikeouts per 9, 3 walks per 9. Not the Edwin Diaz we are used to seeing. Gonna be rough if it gets to him in the 9th. Jose Buto and Reed Garrett are also pitchers to look at. Buto has a 2.91 ERA, and Garrett has a 2.44 ERA. Offensively, they have a very good home runs per 9 at .036 home runs per 9. Francisco Lindor leads the way as he's hitting .271 with 31 home runs, 86 RBIs, 27 stolen bases, 135 innings pitched. And Big Meat Pete having a down year, but still a great year overall. 244 average, 34 home runs, 37 stolen bases, good for a 1.25 ERA plus, or WRC plus. Looking at it, it seems a lot closer than it's going to end up being. Ultimately, I'm going with Milwaukee. Their pitching is better. Their lineup, while not having the home run per 9 or home run per at-bat that I'm looking for, is still on par with this Mets lineup. They just have so much depth and can really turn it on at any time. They're not pitching as deep as Mets pitchers, but they're pitching better. Their bullpen picks up the slack. I see the Brewers winning this series 2-0. And in the second series, though they may be faltering, I have the Arizona Diamondbacks playing the San Diego Padres. The Diamondbacks will be throwing a rotation of Zach Gallen, who is 13-6, 142 innings pitched on the year, good for 5.1 innings pitched per start, a 3.74 ERA, good for a 1.12 ERA plus, 1.23 WHIP, 0.8 home runs per 9, 8.9 strikeouts per 9, and 2 walks per 9. Not necessarily that Cy Young caliber Zach Gallen we saw last year and the one who really led this rotation in the playoffs, but still a pretty good pitcher in his own right. He's backed up, of course, by Merrill Kelly, who is 5-0 with 68 innings pitched on his young season. He's going 5 2/3 per innings pitched per start with a 3.71 ERA, good for a 1.14 ERA plus, 1.23 WHIP, 1.45, or giving up a home run and a half per 9 innings, 7.3 strikeouts per 9, and 2.4 walks per 9. Not the best from Merrill Kelly overall, and that's really unfortunate because as we're going to see, behind him, this D-backs rotation does not have a lot of depth that it did last year. Brandon Peafont would likely go in Game 3, and he has been rough to say the least. As on the year, he's 10-9 with 173 and 2/3 innings pitched, good for 5 2/3 innings pitched per start, with a 4.66 ERA, good for a paltry 90 ERA plus, 1.24 WHIP, 1.1 home runs per 9, 8.9 strikeouts per 9, and 2 walks per 9. He does limit walks, but he is not that great at run prevention. A bad home run rate. It's going to be a rough series if Piafont has to go in Game 3. But the bullpen has been solid as they've gone 367 innings pitched as a unit, 3.31 ERA, 9.3 strikeouts per 9, 3.13 walks per 9, and 0.74 home runs per 9. But this team makes its bread and butter offensively. 10 hitters with a WRC plus of at least 100, meaning their league average. This lineup is potent. It's deadly and it's deep. Unfortunately, I can only talk about so many hitters, but we're going to go with Ketel Marte, an MVP candidate on the year. 296 average, 34 home runs, 92 strikeouts, or 92 RBIs, 7 stolen bases, good for a 152 WRC plus. Christian Walker has taken his Dodger killer form and applied it to the rest of the league as he's hitting 252 on the year, 26 home runs, 82 RBIs, good for a 105 WRC plus. And the platoon of Peterson and Grichuk. My God, this is what you want from a platoon, as Peterson has a 152 WRC plus and Grichuk has a 133 WRC plus. Phenomenal hitters in their own right, and as a team, they have a .035 home runs per at bat. Phenomenal stuff. Arguably the best offense in baseball, but they're facing a very red-hot Padres team, including this pitching staff, who they would have to do their damage against. The Padres will be throwing out Dylan Cease in Game 1. He's 14-11 with 184 innings pitched, good for 5 2/3 per start. 3.42 ERA, good for a 121 ERA plus, 1.04 whip, 0.9 home runs per 9, 10.7 strikeouts per 9, and a career low, but still not fantastic, 3 walks per 9, but he's starting to get that under control a little bit. Michael King would go in Game 2. He's 12-9 with 168 2/3 innings pitched, good for 5.2 innings pitched per start. 3.04 ERA, good for a 136 ERA plus, 1.20 whip. Again, 0.9 home runs per 9, 9.2 strikeouts per 9, and 2.4 walks per 9. King has been phenomenal. Very underrated. Might be the most underrated pitcher in baseball, and a fantastic number 2 behind Cease. And Yu Darvish would probably pitch if Game 3 if it got that far. He's 6-3 on the year, 70 innings pitched, good for 5 innings pitched per start. 3.21 ERA, good for 129 ERA plus, 1.19 whip, 1.3 home runs per 9, 9.2 strikeouts per 9, and 2.7 walks per 9. Their bullpen, as much as I have been making fun of the big three is phenomenal, and this bullpen might be the best in the National League, if not all of baseball, if it wasn't for Cleveland, of course. On the year, they have a 3.01 ERA, 9.75 strikeouts per 9, 3.1 walks per 9, and 0.77 home runs per 9. We know about the big three. Suarez, a 1.45 ERA. Tanner Scott, a 2.44 ERA since joining the Padres. Jason Adam, a 2.91 ERA since joining the Padres. And not to mention, Adrian Morejon is still in that bullpen too. They have the guys to just eat you alive if they have a lead. And it's very easy for this team to take a lead. Offensively, a .031 home runs per 9 is not fantastic, but they have a deep lineup like Arizona. Their key bats, Jurickson Profar, his resurgent year has held up, and on the year he's 283 with 23 home runs, 83 RBIs, good for a 142 WRC plus. Jackson Merrill, fantastic season from him. 294 average, 24 home runs, 89 RBIs, 132 WRC plus. And of course, the man, the myth, the steroid user himself, Fernando Tatis Jr. on the year. 283 average, 19 home runs, 47 RBIs, 137 WRC plus. Not to mention Machado can get hot in the playoffs. He's been hot in the second half. You got Bogarts. The Crone Zone has had big hits, and Higashioka's having a career year. This is the series to watch if you're watching any of the wild card series. These are about as evenly matched teams, and I hope we do get this. And ultimately, I'm giving the slight edge to the Padres. Their pitching is just better and can really keep this Diamondback lineup in check, because we know good hit pitching trumps good hitting 9 times out of 10, and this is not going to be the 10th, unfortunately. Now we switch over to the American League, where the Baltimore Orioles will be facing off against the Detroit Tigers, who made a very great late season run for this playoff spot, and it's going to be well-deserved when they make it. They face a formidable Orioles team who will be throwing out Corbin Burns in Game 1. He's 15-8 on the year, 189 innings pitched, good for 6+ innings on the year per start, 2.95 ERA, 1.27 ERA plus, 1.11 WHIP, about a home run per 9, 8.2 strikeouts per 9, and 2.2 walks per 9. He's backed up by Zach Eflin, who's 5-2 since joining Baltimore, with going 50 2/3 innings pitched, good for 6+ innings per start, 2.31 ERA, good for 1.63 ERA plus, 1.04 WHIP, 1.2 home runs per 9, 8.2 strikeouts per 9, and a minuscule 1.1 walks per 9. After that, it's a lot harder to decide, but I think Albert Suarez would pitch Game 3. He is 8-6 on the year with a 1.22 with 122 and 2/3 innings pitched, good for 5 per start, 3.60 ERA, good for a 104 ERA plus, 1.32 WHIP, just under 1 home run per 9, 7.2 strikeouts per 9, and 3 walks per 9. The bullpen, not much better than the rotation, unfortunately, as they have a 3.67 ERA, 9.47 strikeouts per 9, 3.39 walks per 9, and 0.93 home runs per 9. Oh, and by the way, they don't know who their closer is going to be. They have DFA'd Kimbrel. Sir Anthony Dominguez is good, not great. Yenier Cano, maybe. Keegan Aiken, maybe. And those are the two big arms that I think they'll be deploying a lot in this postseason. Cano not going back to his 2023 form, but he's still good on the year. 2.84 ERA, 1.26 WHIP, 0.9 home runs per 9, 9.9 strikeouts per 9, and 3.3 walks per 9. And Keegan Aiken has been a pleasant surprise as he's got a 3.23 ERA, WHIP under 1 home run per 9, fantastic 11.2 strikeouts per 9, and 2 walks per 9. But this team makes its bread and butter offensively. Very deep lineup. They average .037 home runs per at-bat. And you know the bats in this lineup. Gunnar Henderson, 282 average, 37 home runs, 89 RBIs, 21 stolen bases, good for a 142 WRC+. plus. Anthony Santander is going to get paid because he's had a monster year. 236 average, 43 home runs, 99 RBIs, 132 WRC+. plus. And Colton Cowser, phenomenal rookie season from him too. 246 average, 22 home runs, 74 RBIs, 120 WRC+. plus. And that's not to mention guys like Rutschman, Ryan O'Hearn. Holiday's had great stretches. Great lineup overall, but the pitching may do him in. And the pitching is the strength in this Tigers team. We know how good Tariq Skubal is, but let's go the people behind him. Reese Olson, who would probably start Game 2, is 4-8 on the year. Not a great record, but we don't pay attention to pitcher records here. He's thrown 108 in the third innings pitched, good for 5+ innings per start. 3.49 ERA, good for a 118 ERA+. That's why we don't pay attention to pitchers' records, because they can only do so much here. He's got a 1.19 WHIP, 0.6 home runs per 9, 8.1 strikeouts per 9, and 2.4 walks per 9. He's been a fantastic pitcher, and it's a really tough 1-2 to go up against if you're Baltimore. And in the finale, it would probably be Casey Mize. 2-6. Again, we don't pay attention to the record. 99 innings pitched on the year. 4.2 innings pitched per start. Not great. 4.36 ERA. Not great. 1.24 WHIP. 1.1 home runs per 9. 8.9 strikeouts per 9. 2 walks per 9. Not the best after that top 2. So you're really hoping to win this series in 2 because you're not going to win it in 3. The bullpen, great for them. They've really picked up. They have a 3.26 ERA on the year, 7.8 strikeouts per 9, 2.18 walks per 9, and 0.88 home runs per 9. And the key arms, you're looking at Jason Foley, the closer, has been a huge surprise on the year. He's got a 3.22 ERA, 1.13 WHIP, 0.3 home runs per 9, 11.2 strikeouts per 9. 4.5 walks is not great, but aside from that, phenomenal stuff from Foley. And if you're looking for them to get innings, because they're going to need innings, look at Tyler Holton in his 2.25 ERA and Will Vest and his 2.93 ERA. Offensively, this Tigers lineup is not great. They only have 2 hitters with the WRC plus above 100, which is league average. They are Riley Green, who's hitting 262 on the year, 24 home runs, 72 RBIs, 137 WRC plus, and Matt Viering, who is hitting 257 with 16 home runs, 76 RBIs, 108 WRC plus. Ultimately, the pitching is what is going to keep Detroit in this series, but they cannot survive this Baltimore lineup, who is just too good. I said before, great pitching beats great hitting 9 times out of 10. However, if you don't have an offense, this is where the 10th time happens, and unfortunately, this is the 10th time. I think Skubal wins Game 1 for them rather convincingly, but they drop the next 2 as the Orioles will take this series in 3. And our final wild card series is the Houston Astros against the Kansas City Royals. Perhaps I have over-exaggerated the death of the Houston Astros because there's one of the first episodes we have is called The Astros Are Over Party, where I prematurely celebrated the death of this team. Unfortunately, we forgot to drive the stake through the heart because they are back with a fucking vengeance here. Their rotation, they have Framber Valdez, who's 14-7 with 172 thirds innings pitched on the year, good for 6.1 innings pitched per start, 2.85 ERA, good for a 1.39 ERA plus, 1.08 WHIP, 0.6 home runs per nine, 8.7 strikeouts per nine, and 2.8 walks per nine. You know how good Framber Valdez is. He's postseason ready too. This should be a breeze for him. Yusei Kikuchi, we made up fun of the Astros for giving up a haul for this guy. He's making fun of us for doubting him. He is 5-0 on the year for Houston, 54 innings pitched, good for 6 innings per start, an ERA of 3 flat, good for a 1.33 ERA plus. WHIP under 1.3 home runs per 9 is a little concerning, but 11.3 strikeouts per 9 and 2.2 walks per 9. You'll take that every time. Kikuchi has been dominant with Houston, and it's just rough to see because they did it yet again. Ronel Blanco continues to be fantastic, and really, he's flown under the radar a little bit since that no-hitter. He really should not have. He's having a fantastic year. On the year, he's 12-6, throwing 162 and a third innings pitched, good for 5.2 per start, 2.88 ERA, good for 1.37 ERA plus, 1.10 WHIP, 1.2 home runs per 9, 9 strikeouts per 9, 3.7 walks per 9 is not great, but that's who you want pitching in Game 3. The bullpen has been a little disappointing relative to what the expectations were, especially because they were the team, not the Padres, that were supposed to have the big three of Hader, Abreu, and Presley. They've been okay. They've not been dominant. On the year, Hader, he's got a 3.67 ERA, 1.26 WHIP, just under a home run per 9, 9.9 strikeouts per 9, 3.3 walks per 9. This is the worst season of the Josh Hader era. He's been dominant throughout. Strikeout rate is down. Walk rate is down. ERA is up. It's bad. It's just bad for him overall. Brian Abreu, again, he was a dominant pitcher. Not been the case this year, as he's got a 3.18 ERA, 0.94 WHIP, 1 home run per 9, 11.2 strikeouts per 9, 2 walks per 9. Not great. And Ryan Presley has not adjusted to his role after losing the closer role he's had in Houston for so long. He's got a 3.60 ERA. He's really got to step it up in the postseason because he's got to eat a lot of high leverage innings. And offensively, we know how good this team is offensively. They're averaging .031 home runs per at-bat, but you know the key names in this lineup. Yordan Alvarez, best pure hitter in the league, 308 average, 35 home runs, 86 RBIs, good for a 167 WRC plus. Jose Altuve, consistent as ever, 295 average, 20 home runs, 22 stolen bases, 65 RBIs, good for a 127 WRC plus. And Alex Bregman, 256 average, 25 home runs, 73 RBIs, good for a 115 WRC plus. Jeremy Pena is a postseason hero. You know what you're getting out of this lineup. And Kyle Tucker still exists too, by the way. Just a fantastic, well-built team overall. And this is their first time playing in the Wild Card Series. And they will be facing off against Kansas City, who has the best rotation here in the playoffs. They're throwing Seth Lugo at you Game 1. He's 16-9, 142 innings pitched, good for 6 1/3 per start, 3.03 ERA, good for a 1.12 ERA plus, 1.23 WHIP, 0.8 home runs per 9, 8.9 strikeouts per 9, 2 walks per 9. Lugo has been dominant in Kansas City, to say the least. He's been worth every penny they have spent on him. Fantastic signing. Fantastic pitcher since he's returned to the rotation after a long stint in bullpen with the Mets. Great to see him bounce back. Cole Reagans has shown that maybe Kansas City won the trade despite Chapman helping the Rangers win the World Series last year, because he's fantastic. 11-9 on the year with 180 innings pitched, good for 5.2 per start, 3.24 ERA, good for a 1.14 ERA plus, 1.23 WHIP, but a very concerning 1.5 home runs per 9, 9.7 strikeouts per 9, and 2.4 walks per 9. Reagan's dominant on the year, one of the best pitchers in baseball, and he's going to be a Royal for a long time. And Brady Singer, again, fantastic pitcher. On the year, he's 9-12 with going 173 and 2/3 innings pitched, good for 5 1/3 per start, 3.73 ERA, which is good for a 90 ERA plus, not the best, 1.24 WHIP, 1.1 home runs per 9, 8.9 strikeouts per 9, 2 walks per 9. Overall, Singer not the best, especially from where he started, but he's still having a great year and really helps anchor this rotation. Bullpen, worst bullpen in the playoffs. I'm sorry. As a unit, they have a 4.33 ERA, just under 8 strikeouts per 9, 3.43 walks per 9, 0.88 home runs per 9. I was really looking. I really tried to find someone as the key arm in this bullpen, and I settled on Lucas Eckert, who's got a 3.27 ERA since becoming a Royal, 1.13 whip, zero point 0.3 home runs per 9, 11.2 strikeouts per 9, and 4.5 walks per 9. And that's about it. So you're really like pressing on this rotation to push you as far as you can pitching-wise, because the bullpen is going to blow leads no matter how many games they play in the playoffs, unfortunately. And offensively, it's been Bobby Witt Jr., Salvador Perez, and then a bunch of guys just trying to figure it out, as they have 0.029 home runs per 9. Bobby Witt, fantastic. We know 334 average, 32 home runs, 108 RBIs, 30 stolen bases, 170 WRC plus. If it wasn't for Judge, he'd be the MVP, but we're going to say that a lot about people in the American League, unfortunately. He's phenomenal, and he's going to be a Kansas City Royal for life. Cherish him while you have him. Salvador Perez has shed the overrated label, at least for this year. 271 average, 27 home runs, 103 RBIs, good for a 116 WRC plus. After that, it's a bunch of guys who have not OP or WRC pluses in the 90s, which is fine. One of them might step up, but it's not going to be enough to beat Houston. They're going to win this 2-0. They are a juggernaut for a reason. They have the rotation that can match Kansas City's blow for blow, and unfortunately, it's going to be a hard one. In our first division series, we've talked about the Padres. You know how good they are. They're going to be taking on the Philadelphia Phillies, who I hope get the 1 seed. And they're on track to get the 1 seed right now in the National League. The Phillies, they're going to be throwing out a rotation of Zach Wheeler, who is 16-6 on the year, 186 and 2/3 innings pitched, good for 6 innings per start, 2.56 ERA, whip under 1, home runs per 9 under 1, 9.9 strikeouts per 9, 2.4 walks per 9. Wheeler has been dominant on the year. He's been the runner-up again for Cy Young, but do not discount the fact that he is one of, if not the best pitcher in the National League, and he's going to be a force to be reckoned with for sure. Aaron Nola, not great by his standards, but still a good year for him overall. 12-8, going 188 and a third innings pitched, good for, again, 6 per start. 3.54 ERA, good for a 1.14 ERA plus, 1.17 whip, 1.4 home runs per 9, 8.8 strikeouts per 9, and 2.3 walks per 9. Game 3 would be started by Ranger Suarez, who is 12-7 on the year, 1.48 innings pitched, good for 5.2 per start, 3.15 ERA, 1.16 whip, 0.8 home runs per 9, 8.7 strikeouts per 9, 2.4 walks per 9. He's come back down from earth from that phenomenal start to the year he had, but he's still being a good pitcher for this team. He doesn't need to be the ace. Hell, he doesn't even need to be the number 2. He's a very good number 3 with postseason experience. And Game 4, and the final starter for this team is going to be Christopher Sanchez, 11-9, 112 and 2/3 innings pitched, good for 5 2/3 per start, 3.25 ERA, 1.24 whip, half a home run per 9, 7.6 strikeouts per 9, 2.4 walks per 9. Really a pitch to contact guy, and that's going to come back to bite you in the playoffs, unfortunately. But don't let it fool you. This is a fantastic rotation from the Phillies. Their bullpen, just as strong. 3.02 ERA, 9.76 strikeouts per 9, 2.68 walks per 9, 0.87 home runs per 9 is a little concerning, especially in the playoffs. Key bats, you know him. You love him. He has had some of the most iconic postseason moments since during this Phillies window. It's Bryce Harper. Down year for him offensively, but a down year for him is a career year for everyone else because he's got a 285 average, 29 home runs, 86 RBIs, good for a 145 WRC plus. Alec Boehm has finally hit that potential everyone has been salivating for years. He's got a 288 average, 15 home runs, 94 RBIs, 121 WRC plus. And Kyle Schwarber, of all people, is starting to put the ball in play and make contact, which is a terrifying sentence if you know who Kyle Schwarber is. On the year, 251 average, 36 home runs, 99 RBIs, good for a 137 WRC plus. This Phillies team is a machine. And they're going to be facing up against a Padres team who is hotter than anybody, with the rotation better than anybody. Joe Musgrove is back, and he's going to be joining that Padres rotation. And this is one of, if not the most evenly matched series in all the postseason, if this does come to happen. Because the Phillies have a fantastic rotation. The Padres have a great rotation. Phillies have a great offense. Padres have a great offense. Phillies have a good bullpen. Padres have a good bullpen. Both teams have fantastic home field advantages in the playoffs. We know how crazy the bank is, but Petco Park was rocking in 2022. I know because that sound still haunts me in my nightmares. And ultimately, I went with the Padres. They're going to take this one 3-1. Cease is on fire. Musgrove is on fire. That whole rotation is on fire. They're going to steal one in Philadelphia, and I don't see them dropping one in San Diego. That bullpen is going to lock down this Phillies lineup, unfortunately, and they are going to go home disappointed. For the second division series, the NL Central winning Brewers, fresh off their wild card win, come to Los Angeles to face the Dodgers. And the Dodgers are throwing out a rotation of Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who on the year is 6-2 with 82 innings pitched, good for 5 per start, 2.63 ERA, good for 1.49 ERA plus, 1.23 WHIP, just under 1 home run per 9, 9.3 strikeouts per 9, and 3.2 walks per 9. Game 2 is started by Jack Flaherty, who is 6-2 since joining the Dodgers, 60 innings pitched, good for 5 1/3 per start, 3.40 ERA, good for a 1.04 ERA plus, 1.23 WHIP, 1.1 home runs per 9, 7.9 strikeouts per 9, and 3 walks per 9. Now, this is where it gets a little concerning because I would say Landon Knack in Game 3, and that's who I wrote down, but he didn't look good against the Padres. And I'm still going to have Landon Knack start in Game 3 because as I'm going to talk about with our 4th starter, it's going to be very hard to figure out who's pitching Game 4 for us. But let's talk about Knack first. On the year, he's 3-4, 61 innings pitched, good for 4 2/3 per start, 3.39 ERA, good for a 1.06 ERA plus, 1.24 WHIP, 1.2 home runs per 9, 6.8 strikeouts per 9, 3.3 walks per 9. Not great. He didn't pitch great against the Padres on Tuesday. But he's starting because Game 4, I don't fucking know. I watch this team every day, and I legitimately can't tell you who I want to start Game 4. We don't know if Kershaw's going to be back. Glasnow sure as hell's not going to be back. Stone is out for the year. So is it Walker Buehler? Because I'm not counting on postseason Buehler to come back. He's lost his confidence. He's lost his stuff. He doesn't look great, and I do not trust him. But I don't trust Bobby Miller either. So who are you fucking starting in Game 4? Because if you do a 3-man rotation again, that's what got Buehler injured in the first place. So let's maybe not do this. And Dave Roberts, I know you don't watch this show, okay? But if you do, I need you to listen to me for a second, okay? You have 3 healthy starting pitchers. Take good care of them. Do not manage them like you did in 2021. Because I swear to Christ, that's what cost us the World Series in 2021. Don't have Yoshi come out for some playoff innings from the bullpen. Don't have Knack come out of the bullpen. Don't have Flaherty come out of the bullpen. And I sure as hell don't want Shohei Ohtani having his rehab starts in fucking October. Okay? This is frustrating as all hell. Let's talk about the bullpen now. So the bullpen has been very good, but they've been asked to do way too much. But on the year, 3.15 ERA, 9.64 strikeouts per 9, 3.24 walks per 9, and 1.10 home runs per 9. Great bullpen. They're going to be asked to do a lot, unfortunately. And yeah, the great arms in the bullpen are Evan Phillips, down year for him, 3.63 ERA, not great. Overall, he's been blown up in some high leverage spots. Hope he gets it together for the postseason. Alex Vesia, on the other hand, has been a revelation as he's got a 1.82 ERA out of the bullpen. And Michael Kopech has been transcendent since coming to the Dodgers. 2.44 ERA, 0.81 WHIP, 0.4 home runs per 9, 10.7 strikeouts per 9, 3.9 walks per 9. Bad command, but oh my God, when that stuff is on and he can locate it even somewhat well. Oh, it's beautiful to watch. Offensively, this lineup, it's a little deceptive because their home run rate is 0.038 home runs per 9, which is the second best of any of the teams in the postseason. However, it's a little top heavy, and by a little, I mean a lot top heavy. Shohei Ohtani, like the game Wednesday against the Padres really shows this, is he puts a Herculean effort to put this team on his back and push us over the finish line. Meanwhile, Betts is popping up 4 times, and I know not to criticize Betts. He's doing really the best he can, and the postseason really has not been his strength. But get it together, man, because they're not going to pitch to Shohei if you're not going to hit. Freddie Freeman gets a pass because it's been a rough year for him overall. His mind's elsewhere. He'll get a pass. But this team's got to step up offensively because you're relying on your superstars and Teoscar Hernandez. After that, Smith's had a down year. Muncie's having an okay year. Lux, you're really betting on that resurgence. Edman, you're hoping can keep up that hot start. But my God, are we going to get our asses kicked in this series? I'm going to be honest here. We're going to get our asses kicked because we don't have starting pitching. You can't trust Dave Roberts to pull the right strings for the bullpen in the playoffs because he's Dave Roberts. He's done that maybe twice in his whole postseason tenure. The offense chokes in big situations, and there's not much depth to it either. I'm sorry, it's not a deep lineup. So yeah, we're going to get our asses kicked, and I really hope it changes the way we approach roster building, management, and pitching development because, my God, we've been saying free Shohei Ohtani for years, and now he's in baseball purgatory because he's not getting past the division series this year with the Dodgers. Brewers win this one 3-1, and I'm going to cry now. For the first division series in the American League, we are talking about a rivalry showdown between the Yankees and the Orioles. The Yankees are throwing out Garrett Cole in game 1. He's 7-5 with an going 88 in the third innings pitched on the year, 5.1 per start, 3.67 ERA, 1.18 whip, 1.19 home runs per 9, 9.7 strikeouts per 9, and 2.9 walks per 9. Not the best year from Garrett Cole. He really regressed since winning his Cy Young. He really said, I want it, I'm good. Still a great year for him overall. I don't want to bash the guy too much, but it's not what you're expecting from him. Luis Hill will start game 2. He's 14-6, going 142 in the third innings pitched. Good for 5+ innings per start, 3.14 ERA, good for a 1.30 ERA plus, 1.18 whip, 0.9 home runs per 9, 10.3 strikeouts per 9, and 4.47 walks per 9. Carlos Rodon goes in game 3. He's 16-9 with going 169 and 2/3 innings pitched, good for 5 1/3 per start, 3.98 ERA, 1.21 whip, a home run and a half per 9, 10.1 strikeouts per 9, and 2 walks per 9. I had Nestor Cortez when I wrote the notes here. He's done till at least the ALCS, so that 4th starter might be Marcus Stroman, but he got hit hard by Baltimore. And who would they probably play in this series? Probably Baltimore. So that 4th spot is up in the air for the moment. Really interesting to see what the Yankees do with it. The bullpen has been fine this year. They have a 3.57 ERA, 9.3 strikeouts per 9, 3.31 walks per 9, and 0.83 home runs per 9. Clay Holmes was expected to be the next Mariano Rivera. He leads the league in blown saves, though, so don't be surprised if he blows 1 or 2 key saves here in the postseason. Still a great year for him overall. He's got a 1.45 ERA, 1.32 whip, 0.6 home runs per 9, 9.8 strikeouts per 9, 3.2 walks per 9. He's supported by Tommy Kahnle, who has been resurgent since coming back to the Bronx. He's got a 2.91 ERA. And Tim Hill's got a 2.44 ERA. Again, found his form since leaving the White Sox and coming to the Padres. The Yankees have the best home run rate of any team offensively. They got .03 home runs per at-bat. You know how good Aaron Judge is. You know how good Juan Soto is. So I don't need to talk about him. However, the rest of the team, Giancarlo is okay. Rice and Rizzo are struggling. Glaber is struggling. Volpe's struggling. Verdugo, you sure as hell hope does not get at-bats. Dominguez has not been much better, though. So really, it's Jazz Chisholm you're hoping steps up here. And since becoming a Yankee, he's hitting 256. Or on the year, he's hitting 256, 23 home runs, 68 RBIs, 37 stolen bases, 109 WRC+. Plus, he has to step up here because teams are just going to pitch around Judge and Soto because if no one else is doing damage, you're sure as hell not letting these two beat you. So really, watch Chisholm, watch Stanton, watch the rest of this lineup because if they're hitting well, the Yankees have a chance to go far. If they're not hitting well, it's another heartbreak in October in the Bronx. But it doesn't start in the division series. It's a very close one. But Baltimore's paper-thin rotation is what's going to bite them in the ass in this series. Yankees win this in 5. And our final division series we talk about is Houston versus Cleveland. Cleveland is known for their pitching, but it's not that rotation because Tanner Beebe would start game one. He's 11-8 on the year, 166 and 2/3 innings pitched, good for 5 1/3 per start, 3.56 ERA, good for a 1.15 ERA plus, 1.19 WHIP, 1.2 strikeouts per 1.2 home runs per 9.7 strikeouts per 2.3 walks per 9. He's backed up by Ben Lively, who's fine. He's 13-9 on the year, 5 innings pitched per start, 3.05 ERA, 1.08 ERA plus, 1.22 WHIP, 1.4 home runs per 7 strikeouts per 2.8 walks per 9. And it only gets. Boyd is good. Boyd is 2-2 on the year, 4 2/3 innings pitched per start, not the best, but a 2.72 ERA is fantastic. 1.13 WHIP, 0.9 home runs per 10.4 strikeouts per 2.9 walks per 9. He doesn't have great volume, and you need volume, but the efficiency is something else. It's the best in this rotation. And Gavin Williams is not great. On the year, he's 3-10, 4 2/3 innings pitched per start, 4.86 ERA, 84 ERA plus, 1.37 WHIP, 0.8 home runs per 9.4 strikeouts per and 3.8 walks per 9. And this team is going to ride or die by this bullpen. And this bullpen is one you should ride or die by. They're fantastic. They have a 2.14 ERA, 9.31 strikeouts per 2.69 walks per and 0.59 home runs per 9. They are one of the best bullpens of the 21st century, plain and simple. I have talked about how good Clase is. He should be the American Cy Young this year. If you listen to the Guardian's Twitter, he is the favorite. He's not, but he should be. He is backed up and set up by Hunter Gaddis. He's got a 1.96 ERA, 1.02 WHIP, half a home run per 8.2 strikeouts per 1.8 walks per And Cade Smith, who's got, again, a 1.96 ERA, 1.24 WHIP, 0.1 home runs per 8.1 strikeouts per and a walk per 9 innings pitched. And these are just the three I had space for on my notes. They are a fantastic unit. And they really got a 2015 Kansas City it because this rotation is giving them no help. Offensively, they have a very respectable 0.033 home runs per 9. Jose Ramirez may end up in the 40-40 club. Let's see if he can get 2 home runs in his final 4 games. But 276 average with 38 home runs, 40 stolen bases, 112 RBIs, 137 WRC plus is fantastic nonetheless. David Fry has been phenomenal. On the year, 260 average, 14 home runs, 50 RBIs, 127 WRC plus. And Naylor has had a really great year, 241 average, 31 home runs, 105 WRC. 105 RBIs, 118 WRC plus. After that, the lineup gets a lot thinner and a lot more question marks. Lane Thomas has not been great since joining Cleveland, but they're facing a machine, and you have to be perfect to beat this Astros machine. And unfortunately, if you're not pitching deep in the starts, I don't care how good your bullpen is they're going to get hit eventually. They're going to blow some leads, and this offense can't really put you out in front, especially against a very good Houston rotation and a very solid bullpen. I think this is a sweep for Houston. Cleveland has always been a little sus to me, and this is where they get exposed for being frauds. So, in our first of 2 championship series in the NLCS, it is my worst nightmare. Kill me now. Padres versus Brewers. Padres are just going to demolish Milwaukee in this one. They're going to win in 5 with Fernando Tatis Jr. being their MVP. Their rotation is better, their bullpen is equal, and their offense is equal, but they hit more home runs than Milwaukee's. It's really hard to see where Milwaukee's going to take a game in this series because they just don't pitch deep, and again, as I say, your bullpen will get hit eventually, especially if you cannot get it to your big 3 out there in the bullpen. Even if you're deploying Devin Williams in high-leverage situations, you don't have him for the 9th. You don't have him for the next big high-leverage situation. Whereas, again, Suarez, Adam, and Scott are interchangeable. Morejon is still there. So many great arms still in that bullpen. And Martin Perez is probably going to slot into the bullpen, too, because that rotation just doesn't have room for him. This Padres team is a juggernaut with one of the best home field advantages in baseball. They're going to run all over this Brewers team. And for what seems like the 5th year in a row, we have an ALCS matchup between Houston and the Yankees. Can the Yankees finally get over this Houston machine? Can they finally do it? No. Quite simply, no. They're going to lose this one in 6 because the rotation lost a huge piece in Cortez. And even if he comes back for the ALCS, I don't expect him to be anywhere close to 100%. I don't expect him to have the form he's had throughout the year. And they're just facing such a tough Houston pitching staff. Like, yeah, Hunter Brown, Justin Verlander, they're not going to be a great Game 4 starter. But the Nationals showed you could ride 3 starting pitchers to a World Series title if you have a good enough bullpen and a great offense. And they have a good enough bullpen and a great offense to do this. Like, I really wish the Yankees invested in depth behind Judge and Soto because then it'd be a lot more competitive series. I could see them winning it, but Judge is going to press. Soto, he won't press. He's got the best eye in baseball, but I can see Judge very much pressing, taking a lot of bad strikeouts here, just because you can't rely on anyone behind him because they just have had good years. They're really going to be facing the brunt of this Houston pitching staff, and they're just going to run all over them. Which brings me to the Nightmare World Series. Padres versus Astros. I hate it so much. I don't want to talk about this, but I have to. On paper, these teams are very evenly matched. Valdez versus Cease is going to be a fantastic game 1. Kikuchi versus King. Every pitcher aside from Musgrove versus, again, Brown or Verlander, I think it should be Hunter Brown. If it's Justin Verlander, you're really just going on name value at that point. A lot of these pitching matchups are so even. The offenses are both very deep, have guys that can hurt you 1 through 9 throughout. But I'm giving the edge to the Padres because their big 3 has actually stepped up, delivered, and lived up to the expectations that were placed in front of them. And I don't like to talk about intangibles and you're playing for this because New York was playing for 9/11 on 2001 and they lost that series to the Diamondbacks. But I think playing for Peter Seidler is really what is driving this Padres team. Is he's the one who has really brought back baseball in San Diego. He's invested so much in this team. And I think to bring one home for his memory is what's really going to drive this team. God, I don't want to say it. Oh, the Padres are going to beat the Astros in 7. It's a very close World Series. It could be the best World Series since 2016, 2017 when we had those 2 fantastic back-to-back. I see the MVP being Jackson Merrill. He has been not only great in the clutch as a rookie, he's been great in the clutch, period, end of sentence. He's going to have several big base hits in this series because, again, you don't want to pitch to Tatis Machado. Everyone in front of him, he's going to get the pitches to hit. He's going to be the one asked to step up in big situations, and he's done so time and time and time again. Padres beat Astros in 7. Oh, I hate it so much. But let me know in the comments down below. Am I wrong? Please tell me I'm wrong. I don't want this to be true, but it's gonna be true. Who's your World Series winner? Am I wrong about the Dodgers? Please tell me I'm wrong about the Dodgers. And who's your World Series MVP? Let me know in the comments down below. And before we get out of here, I'm recording this on Thursday, which is the last day that baseball will be played in Oakland. One of my friends who's grown up an A's fan texted me that she's just crying all day long. This team has meant so much to the city, and they're leaving it. So really, as fun as it is to talk about these teams, just think about Oakland and the Athletics and reach out to the A's fans in your life because they deserve better than the way John Fisher has treated them. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, play ball.